It is the spooky season, Spencer.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You doing anything spooky? Like reading? I usually try to, as we've done for the podcast before, try to read something that's supposed to be scary, and I watch horror movies and all that stuff. So before we even talk about me, have you done any of these things?
Well, as you listened to the last episode, we both just got done reading Chasing the Boogeyman, which is it's more thriller, but, it's still...
True crime fiction?
Yeah. I have 2 volumes left of this comic book series from, the mid-2000s, I think, called Revival, and it's about this, small town somewhere in Minnesota, I think it is, that for some reason these people in this town can't die.
Ooh.
And then so they kind of get quarantined there because the government's worried about it spreading, and stuff like that. And then it just kind of dives into things like these weird soul light creatures that are going through the town and stuff like that. And there's a lot of gruesome there's always at least one gruesome scene in each issue and stuff. So that's 8 volumes long, and I got 2 left of that. I don't know if I'm gonna get any other fake novels and by the end of the month,
Well, we haven't. I mean, we're reading for some random reason.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're done. I didn't talk to you, but Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the opposite of horror. That's not horror at all. I also read Pursuing the Booger Fellow.
Yes.
And that was okay. But again, that's not really horror. More of a thriller, if anything. I haven't really... There's a bunch of horror anthologies coming out on Netflix and stuff. Guillermo del Toro has one called Cabinet of Curiosity that looks pretty good. But I think that's at the end of the month. There is one coming out, I think, this weekend. Midnight Stories or Midnight Club or something. It's kind of like... the old Nick show, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Okay.
Where it's people tell stories, but I think it's an adult version, so I'm excited for that. But other than that, I haven't really watched any horror. I was watching samurai movies yesterday. Fuck, I think that's about it. You read the, what was that?
Beach Bodies.
Beach Bodies. You read Beach Bodies, which is pretty good.
You still have to get to that, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, cause, in October.
Yeah.
Just don't know if I'm going to have enough time. I haven't been reading the last couple of days. I've been doing writing and stuff, which is good.
Why would you do that?
Also, I don't know what it is about that Blade Runner. Just kind of, I'm only halfway through it because it's a really easy, quick read.
Yeah.
If you just want to blow through it. I'm just not really interested in what's going on.
I feel like it's gotten at least a little bit better now since I was actually dealing with with the androids and you're an android, no, you're an android, no, everybody's an android.
Right.
It has got a little bit better for me, or at least more interesting enough to where it is making me read it a little bit more. Because it's basically just my workbook, what I read when I'm on break and lunch at work. But instead of being in the front half, I wouldn't get as much read because it's kind of I don't give a shit about this goddamn sheep or whatever the fuck it is. And then, now that it's getting into some of the more Blade Runner-y kind of things.
Well, I'm about 100 pages in, and so far it's 90, at least 80, I would say 80%, just fucking robot animals are talking about. And I do like the chicken head guy, his name, they call him a chicken head and stuff, but I don't care. People, it's an old book, nobody gives a shit. That Beach Bodies was submitted to us by Nick Kolakowski, by the way. I don't think that is the one that was being released on Halloween. I don't know if he's self-publishing. Oh, I am sorry. Beach Bodies by Nick Kolakowski is coming out on Halloween, so keep an eye out for that. It is a story, kind of like a bleak comedy, actually. It's about a billionaire's doomsday bunker. Now, you read this. You said it was post-apocalyptic, but not quite.
Well, because of the bunker stuff, that in the beginning of when I first started reading, that's what I thought it was going to go, and that's not really what it is. It kind of takes this whole other kind of turn at a left field that you don't really see coming at first, but it's pretty. It's entertaining. It is weird of reading a more modern person that's not
Well, you were talking about it mentions Instagram and Twitter type of stuff, which I haven't encountered in fiction yet, so that is a little strange. I was confused. The other submission we got was a short story collection by our friend MC August. He I think it's been published on the site before.
Now, if you're MC August, do you just always each year try to have everything come out in August?
I don't know. Maybe. But it's a horror sci-fi anthology titled Death is Funny Sometimes. You could check it actually out on Goodreads if you want to look more into that. We were going to review that. I sent it to Ash and he read it, but again, with the site going down now, we're not doing reviews, and I don't have time. Neither of us have time to read that and, for the podcast here, unless we did it after Halloween, which fucks the point. Yeah, but so far, I still want to read that Hemingway book. The fuck Hemingway book are we reading again? Something with the feast. Oh, Movable Feast.
Yeah.
I'm going to read that next after the Android book. I also read a poetry collection called The White Museum that was really good. That was suggested to me from a friend. So that also kind of halted my... Because when I read poetry, it's hard for me to read a book at the exact same, just read some poems and then go to the book, because then my mind's in a different place.
It's like just shifting gears.
Yeah.
Not the right way. I don't know how cars work, but if you don't...
go to first to third.
Yeah, whatever.
Can't. So, yeah, anyway, we have an excellent show for you today, right, Spencer? Sure. Why not?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
So stick around and we will be back, motherfuckers. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast, presented by Crypto.com. No. I hate all this fucking crypto shit, this fake money.
Crypto's the future, man.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe if they named it Krypton,
Ooh, yeah, I get behind that.
So kryptonite, that'd be the tender, right? That'd be the money. It'd be kryptonite instead of Bitcoin or whatever they got nowadays. What is my name? I am Caleb James, your host again, as always. With me today, Spencer, the Algerian alligator accoster church.
Oh, that's a long one.
That's a rough one. You're accosting alligators.
That doesn't seem like that'd be a fun time like that.
That's essentially wrestling alligators.
Yeah.
I mean, wrestling dinosaurs. Pretty much, that's what they are. So.
I mean, they bite off their own arms when they're just playing around.
And I like to think they grow back bigger arms. I don't know if that's not true, but I'd like to think they grow big muscle arms after that. Like Piccolo.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't really have a topic today. Should we ever have topics again? I don't know. I don't know. I do have some news, some good news.
Oh, that's a thing?
Because I took a couple days off this week just because I just wanted to not work. And so I did work at home.
Well,
on my time off. So in the last 2 days, I've submitted, I think, 3 or 4 stories and 4 poems to various publications. So I've been doing stuff.
Nice.
I've been working on a short story that's hopefully better than what I submitted that I will also submit. And I'm keeping track on the board I'll show you after here of how much I had to pay for these submissions, because one of them was a contest. And also, just keep track of everywhere I submitted, so I know. Well, I have a submittable, which will keep track of where you submitted and tell you when you got the big fat fucking rejection. But hopefully at least one of these will... I need some wins. And this has been a bad year. I need some wins. Caleb needs to score some... I don't even care about the money. I just want to be published in some of these places just to feel better about myself right now.
Get some credits.
We briefly talked about you submitting some work. We got to go through the site.
Yeah.
The graveyard of the site and dig out some work.
Pick out its bones.
Pick out some stuff that we might be able to resurrect. That's what I did with some of my stories. They were newer stories, so I was sitting on them anyway, which is good.
Just a grave robbing.
Well, I did submit one old story because the publication I submitted to was looking for winter submissions, and this just happened to fit the bill. I think 2 out of 3 of them, actually maybe all of them, were flash fiction, which is cool because they should get to those pretty quickly. One of those stories I think was longer than flash fiction, but I don't really remember. A couple of things I found out just reading about the whole submitting process that most people don't seem to know. Because they think you gotta score the cover letter and all this shit. But I have a friend who, he actually was an intern for a while at a publishing house, so he had to read a lot of the submissions. And he said for the most part, he would read the first page, and if it didn't capture him, he just, fuck that one. You know, which is understandable.
I mean, and that's something you hear. It's either like the first page or the first
paragraph is what I always...
Yeah.
I always try to make the first paragraph a hook, just right off the jump street, because I feel like a lot of places aren't even reading, especially bigger publications, probably not even reading the first page, you know? That also brings up a question. Do the pay publications have do you have a better chance of getting through because there's less competition? Though I would think there would be more quality competition because the people who are paying are probably, but that's just an assumption, would be better, but you would have less of them because a lot of people only submit to free publications. And two, if you submit to these kind of publications and you pay your fee and stuff, I feel like that should guarantee you more of a read than
I feel like,
that'd be really shitty if you paid and they only give you one paragraph, or if that, just read your cover letter and go, fuck this story.
Yeah, I feel like if you're paying, especially anything that's like a decent amount of money, that you should be guaranteed some kind of...
At least a read.
Yeah. At least a majority of a read.
New thing, because I haven't really been submitting for a couple years now, so a new thing I've noticed, like more publications, because they always did this to a degree, some publications, but now more of these journals are doing it. One, you can pay more for feedback option, which would be like $50 or something, but they'll be like, hey, we'll give you feedback for the first 2 pages of your story, or if it's poems, you know, the poem of your choosing or whatever, which is, I guess, is cool, but I've heard some negative things from looking into that where it's just like generic feedback.
It depends on where you're getting the feedback from.
And also, if the editor is giving you feedback, I would imagine the work would have to, it might not be what they're looking for, so they reject it, but if they give you feedback, they probably would have gave you feedback anyway if they rejected it, if they thought it was quality, just not for them. Because we've done that on our site, you know. I'll give you feedback on your work if I thought it was good quality, just not a fit for, like, say we're doing it's Halloween time and you send us a Christmas piece.
Yeah.
It might be a good Christmas story, but I'm like, hey, that doesn't fit with what we're doing. Submit it again or submit somewhere else. So a lot of times you'll get that, but like with the paid feedback, if I got generic feedback and I paid $50, I'd be furious.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you fucking dick licks. Two, what I've also been seeing now, which I actually implemented on my submission today, was they have free submissions or you pay a fee to expedite it. So where it goes from your wait could be 4 to 6 months, it's 1 to 2 weeks. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll pay $10 to get, if I'm going to get rejected quicker.
Yeah, so you can move on.
Yeah, because like my one buddy, he's been getting a lot of poems submitted, but he submits like a bunch of places and he does like a lot of multiple submissions. And that's too messy for me. I don't want to like have to track down different publications and be like, hey, I got published in this magazine, so you got to take it, especially if I'm paying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that. I like to do one at a time. But I figure if I at least have a bunch of stories out or a bunch of poems or whatever out at the same time, it gives me a better shot. But what a lot of people suggest is submit one piece up to 5 to 10 different places at the same time, unless the publication says, hey, you can't submit multiple submissions. Most places allow multiple submissions. You just have to tell them if you get accepted. But again, because fiction a lot of the time seems to be pay. Like poetry, I notice a lot of places you don't have to pay generally, and if you do, it's a very low fee. But fiction, like, your short stories and stuff, the submission fees are usually like higher.
Do you think because it's a smaller, like,
probably harder to get? Yeah, poetry you can just fly through versus a short story up to 5 to 10,000 words. That's going to take some time. So if it's good but not good enough, they read the whole story. Like, that sucks. So that's almost a reading fee, if anything. I would be interested in hearing about some people's experiences because I really don't know what a lot of these publications are looking for. Because I'll read some of because they say, check out our work before you submit. And I'll read some of the work and I'm like, well, my story either fits or is just the same quality as the stories you're publishing. And I think we talked about this before. Well, you have to be very wary of the publication of what the boxes they want you to tick are. So I've been submitting to places that do blind readings for the most part. They don't want your name on it. They don't want to know if you're a they, them, or your ethnicity or anything like that, because I don't want to be pigeonholed, just because I'm not the demographic they're searching for. If I am submitting to, Ebony Magazine, then obviously I know that I'm probably going to get rejected because I'm not their demographic. Like, I'm not the kind of author they're probably looking for. I'd have to have astounding work to get through that versus, a place that does blind readings and they just want, whoever's the best. Which I noticed now after our one conversation about the problems I had with the publishing industry, it does seem to be shifting the other way now where they're just doing more blind readings. And I think that was either they weren't getting enough submissions because they were just looking too, their scope was too narrow.
But yeah, when you create a bottleneck.
Yeah, when you're only looking for like gay black authors, or you're looking for Muslim women, like if you have a very narrow scope and the well you're drawing from is like already very depleted, it's gonna be hard to fill your quota.
Yeah.
But if you do blind readings, and then afterwards, if you select enough, then you can be more picky and choosy. If you choose to, I'm going to look and see if you have a high social media following. I'm going to look to see, to make sure you don't have any published work that's problematic out there, or make sure you're not an author who's famous for sexually assaulting people.
Yeah.
Like they'll do that thing. I think after the blind reading is what I'm looking for. Not that I'm a sexual deviant. Yeah. I haven't had any legalities against me.
Well, I say not that you're not to the point that's been documented on the internet.
Oh God,
you've been able to do a good job of keeping your sexual deviances under wrap.
I'm just rubbing my hands together like an old timey crook. So far, no, it's once you get famous that all comes out the closet. Among other people, I'm referring to the dead bodies. I was watching that Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. Or not documentary. Yeah. It's like a fictionalized show. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. Docudrama, docuseries.
Something like that, yeah.
It's a lot of it's fabricated, but all the events are true for the most part. I watched 2 episodes. I was like, that's more than enough for me. It's disturbing, and I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to see this anymore.
Which is something for you to go, like, if you Caleb James is like, that's enough.
Yeah, and it's not that it's like gory or overly fucked. At least the episodes I watched, it was just like, well, I already know this for one, and two, these are real people that they're depicting that were getting tortured and killed and all this shit. It's like, I'm good. I'll stick with my fiction murder versus the real murder. A lot of people just have like this weird sexual attraction to the fucking true crimes and the murders, and I'm just like, that's not me. Like, I don't mind a good old true crime mystery, but if it's just like, and then he sawed off the head slowly and put it in a drum of acid. I'm like, but we know he did it? Yeah, it was Jeffrey Dahmer. He clearly did it. That's what this whole story... From the very first episode, this is what it's about. Oh, so there's nothing to solve. It's just Jeffrey Dahmer was the horrible serial killer.
We're just documenting all of the terrible things and putting it in a nice visual medium for you to see.
Can we please get a docudrama series about Albert Fish, the gray man who raped and ate children? I would love to see that. Like, no. Like, what the... Who's enjoying this is what I want to know. Like, yeah, Evan Peters does a great job as Jeffrey Dahmer, but like even like those Ted Bundy movies and stuff they came out with, it's like, this is very violent, and why am I watching this? Again, I know who the killer was. He got caught, executed, everything. Why do I need to I'm in it for the mystery and the fun, and the gore is a nice side bonus, Yeah. But again, I prefer fictionalized gore. If it's real gore, it's like, oh, it's just sad. Yeah. Oh, these are just real victims that got murdered. Like, if they were doing it to like ISIS or something, maybe I'd be a little more cheery. But the fact that just innocent people in a bar get picked up by Jeffrey Dahmer and murdered.
Well, do you remember like even like the back in the that Zodiac movie with Iron Man and the Hulk and stuff in it before they got
That's how you're referring to them as Iron Man and Hulk.
Yeah, that's how all those guys are going to be referred on for the rest of their lives. Captain America, Thor.
Are you talking about Oscar winner Robert Downey Jr. and Hulk?
Yeah.
Which Hulk? Ed Norton? See that now? That's you're fucking up. Ed Norton, Eric Bana, Mark Ruffalo.
Ruffalo.
Weird face Ruffalo.
It's the Zodiac. It's about the Zodiac killer, and like they do one of the killings of like one of the first killings. They're like these couples that are just sitting like at a lake or whatever. Yeah. And it wasn't even like super gory with like blood, but you just see them like just stabbing them in the back like a whole bunch of time, and it's just kind of like like ooh, like.
When you see Jason Voorhees do it, it's okay because he's not real.
Yeah, and normally like it's like it's going through like the whole body and almost like a cartoony kind of fashion that's not real or whatever, over girlized. But yeah, it was just like stabbing in the spines and stuff, just like like God.
Well, here's the thing: at least the Zodiac movie, like it's still a mystery. They never caught that guy.
Yeah,
so you could guess and you could fabricate stuff because he's not caught. He's not like Jack the Ripper. That captures people's imaginations because we don't know if he was ever actually caught.
Right.
Because they executed a couple people that could have been, like, they admitted they were Jack the Ripper, but you don't know if they actually were. But when it's like Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, me, like, you don't want to see these serial killers depicted on the television program. Like, some people do, but I don't think it's appropriate. Not that it's not appropriate. It's just like, I don't know why people enjoy it so much. Like, what are you getting out of it? Maybe if you went into it not knowing the story at all, and like, I guess the Dahmer thing, because it goes back to his childhood and stuff, so you kind of get into the mind of the killer, which people like to do. As a writer, I already know that stuff. I don't care.
Yeah.
I figured it out, man. He's sick. He's sick in the head.
Or is everybody else sick?
No, he admitted he was like, I need to stop doing this. Like when they caught him, he was like, I'm bad, man. I'll admit to everything. I need to stop doing this. Not quite the right thing to do. Not a narcissist, that guy, which is good. Ted Bundy, narcissist. Jeffrey Dahmer, just openly gay man with weird fetishes, I guess. I don't know. Went too far.
Too far.
He was an alcoholic too. Probably a little bit of the autism. No, it could have been. I don't know. He doesn't fit the bill for an autistic because they don't like to be touched.
Right.
He seemed to like to do the touching, which I don't think they like to do the touch. It's a texture thing with a lot of autistic people. I'd imagine if he had a hard case of the Asperger's, he ain't getting into the guts and all that. So I don't know. Even like the serial killer movies, like the Eileen Wuornos and stuff, Monster, where they try to depict her as the victim almost. I'm like, she killed a bunch of people. Yeah, she was a victim of a lot of cruel crimes. A lot of sexual assaults and stuff, but she still killed random innocent people.
Yeah, it's not even like she was killing the people that was assaulting her or anything.
She's just like, oh, I'm going to hook, and this guy wants to get some, and he's paying me money, and I'm just going to shoot him in the face or whatever she did. And, yeah, that guy's probably not the most up-and-up guy. You know, dirty trucker guy with picking up lot lizards. But at the same time, like, he didn't personally hurt you, so why are you killing him? Getting revenge on innocent people because other people hurt you, that's kind of fucked up. But she was mentally unstable. And I didn't really care for that depiction either. I was like, she's a mean lady.
Yeah.
I don't care what she went through, she's a mean lady. And a lot of people were mean people, and they use their child abuse and their growing up traumas to justify their awful behavior currently. And any person can change right now. Like, if you're a shit person, you could just be like, you know what, I'm not going to be a shit person anymore. I'll do good things. You could do that. But most people choose not to, and they have a lot of excuses. Like the alcoholic who always has an excuse for why they drink. Mm-hmm. Somebody else's problem. Somebody else's fault. I got DUI because I had to pick up my cousin, and I didn't even want to drive. I was drunk, but he was in a rough way, and it was his fault. No, yeah. You're drunk. You don't drive, you know. That's the basis of it. So, Spencer, how's your rating coming along?
Not as good as yours. I haven't been able to get myself to like kickstart it on really diving in and going on to the second draft yet.
Gangbusters is what you were supposed to say.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to lie to the fine people.
You could have. They wouldn't know.
Yeah. I like to keep it 100, as the kids used to say.
No cap.
But yeah, I haven't...
Well, I told you to take a breather before you got to the second draft. Maybe do another project, like a short story or something. But
I always find myself, like, because I have, like, 3 or 4, like bigger stories that are just first drafts that I've never gone back. Like, you know what I mean? That have just been left asunder after the original go around.
Well, fix them.
Well, then I always get wrapped up into something else.
Well, stop getting wrapped up. What are you doing? One project at a time. Finish. Start to end. Be a Mosley.
A Mosley?
And I just mean the appearance wise, not the writing and success and all that stuff. Just wear fancy clothes and neon rings and stuff like that. Maybe a neon lime fedora would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Here's my opinion, Spencer. And you could take this or you could throw it away. It's fine. Either way. You just had a birthday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, actually, is the recording of this. You have gotten this far in life and not reaching any kind of great success in anything that you have wanted. Maybe become an eccentric.
Ooh, yeah. I mean,
why not? Start dressing in fucking capes or trench coats.
I mean, honestly.
Not trench coats, because that gives you the neckbeard vibe. You got to be specific with you don't want to be the people I see on like the cringe Instagram pages. Like, you got to avoid that, but you can be an eccentric.
And to be honest, it wouldn't probably be that far of a stretch. It'd probably just be being actually to do things that I actually want to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like just how, don't
a lot of scheming, a lot of finger twiddling.
Yeah.
Because I rewatched that, I actually bought it now finally, that Genius movie starring Jude Law and Colin Firth, who... It's the story of Thomas Wolfe meeting Maxwell Perkins, and they revise his fucking ridiculously long books. And Blue.
Yeah.
We've talked about it on here a bunch of times. Well, I watched it again. It's one of my favorite movies. Not that it's a great movie. I just like the literary stuff, and it's just like Jude Law plays Thomas Wolfe is such a crazy eccentric, and I'm just like, that guy would be the life of the party anywhere he goes, and he's just nuts. And I wish I was that kind of nuts, because you're gonna stand out regardless. But think of some of the great writers. Truman Capote, he's a little weird.
Yeah.
Trying to think of the off the wall writers, because there's a different class too, because then you have more of like the classy kind of writers, which would be your Tolkien's, your more academic types, even maybe a Vonnegut, Toni Morrison, you know. But I like the crazy guys too, the Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Thompson. You know, he's a poster boy for that kind of stuff.
Maybe like a Henry Rollins. He's a little unhinged in his youth, not so much now.
Would you say like more of the classic version of that would be like a Hemingway?
Yeah, he was definitely unhinged because Hemingway and Joyce, both geniuses in their respective field, very different writers, both drunks. Hemingway, Mr. Adventurous, man hunting, killing bear. He probably would have hunted humans if he could.
Oh, yeah. He seemed like a most dangerous game kind of guy.
During World War II, he's like 50-something years old, living in Cuba or Key West or wherever he was. He's fucking on a boat. He hooked machine guns to it. He's going to go kill fucking commies on a boat. Like, what are you doing? You're not even a part of the war. He's fucking nuts. He went to Spain for the Spanish Civil War as a journalist and decided to involve himself in the war. Like, what are you doing, you nut? So he would count. James Joyce was, obviously we read his letters, so sexually he was a different kind of fella. His writing was very schizophrenic, and he was a hard drinking man, and he seemed like very eccentric. And he had an eye patch, so I mean that just automatically gives you either Bond villain vibes or eccentric guy vibes. Now you go to the classic way, even though he was a fucking raging alcoholic, F. Scott Fitzgerald, because there's different kinds of eccentrics. He would be more like the hermit type, especially in his later years. And then you got like a young Stephen King, coked out of his mind, probably more of an eccentric versus your Dean Koontz with the bowl cut. Like,
you also got like the
Neil Gaiman would be your classy guy.
Well, I'm saying then on the other end of that, you have like the Alan Moore, who's a fucking like wizard,
eccentric wizard hobo. That's you.
Yeah,
you're going. Well, I'm just saying.
Wizard hobo.
Not just appearance wise. It goes with the eccentric thing. Is like you either be the classy writer, like the Neil Gaiman, or the hobo living in a fucking hut in the woods, Alan Moore.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pull off the Neil Gaiman classy guy, you kind of have to have like the one. You have to speak like Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, I can't.
Probably helps to be British, but you have to have like the sophistication. You can't build the sophistication. That almost just comes from upbringing, I think.
Right, that's like one of those nature versus nurture kind of things.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you get accepted to Oxford, go to Harvard, you're very smart. If you come from the Bronx and you are living in the projects, you're probably going to grow up still that's going to be in you. You can fake it, but you're not going to ever be that sophisticated.
You're like that Southern guy that makes it to MIT.
Yeah, like people know you're not... I mean, there's many stories written upon this idea, but... You don't fit in, even if you excel. You know what I mean? You could be the best, you could be the top of your class at Harvard, but if you got the Alabama twang, you're still that guy from Alabama.
Yeah, not only are they not going to like you because now that you're at the top of the class, so, you know, everybody hates the guy at the top.
Legally Blonde was made from this idea. Sorry, Reese Witherspoon. She's a blonde Pop-Tart, but she's really good at law.
Somehow.
That's fucking dumb. You know what? That's not even a bad movie. I don't care. Do this. What is it? The stretch and snap or whatever the fuck they do. Oh. That man, Stifler's mom was in that movie, and she is. I don't know if she's going to be in the new one, but I saw they're making a new American Pie.
I did see that. Yeah.
Why? They're like 50.
I don't know. Maybe it's like their grandkids or something.
I feel like it's American Cobbler now. It's a little crustier.
Yeah.
The fuck are we talking about? Oh, yeah, your gimmick.
My gimmick.
Because I think I need to come up with the gimmick too. And I really don't want, because like I work out and stuff, which kind of pigeonholes you into a certain appearance. Like you talk about like comics, anyone who's in shape, like your Joe Rogans or your Dane Cook when he was younger stuff, they always have to be very self-deprecating because the audience sees you're a buff guy. Mm-hmm. They're going to be like, oh, fucking. So I almost feel like I would end up pigeonholing myself just from appearance-wise into a Chuck Palahniuk, or even your Hemingway. Like, you have to be more of a manly man. And I'm not a manly man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be a manly man. Yeah, I do blue-collar work, and I lift heavy shit, and...
And you like to whittle once upon a time?
I like whittle and do woodwork, and like a you know... what the fuck was his name on that show? Ron Swanson.
Oh yeah.
Nick Offerman, like he's like that in real life, but like the overly manly man with the mustache, and it's like, but I'm not the overly manly man. I don't have the voice of an overly manly man, obviously, and I can't grow a full beard, only the goatee.
Yeah.
So I don't fit in that category. But that's the kind of, like, do I become the eccentric? Do I wear the fancy hats? I don't know, but I need a gimmick. We all need a gimmick, I think. Especially now more than ever, a writer needs a gimmick to stand out. Not just your work, but just your appearance.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of and if it's not a full blown gimmick, like it's a personality.
Well, Vonnegut so famously worked in advertising before he became real famous, and he crafted his gimmick. Even though it doesn't seem like he was so good, you didn't see it as like this crazy gimmick. But when you like what people think of Vonnegut, that's not necessarily what Vonnegut, like how he actually was. He just, or like a Mark Twain's another great example. He comes off as like, you know, the wizened grandpa or something and the stand-up comedian, but he wears the suits. And I mean, Samuel Clemens, he wasn't Mark Twain.
Yeah.
That was a whole gimmick. Even the name's a gimmick. Now you think of an H.P. Lovecraft, you think of this weird genius recluse. That's who he was, but for no fault of his own, like if you look at it now, it's almost like a gimmick, like it's an exaggeration of who he was. Same with Edgar Allan Poe. You think of the macabre, and you think of like this highfalutin American who doesn't fit in this country because everyone else is dumb, and he's so smart, and he's almost French or German. Or Poe, that's not who he was. He was just, and he wasn't like the one they put on him is like the raging alcoholic and like the crazy guy, the crazy genius. Like he wasn't that either. He was just a normal guy, but he did have these gimmicks thrown upon himself, and it's not like he necessarily deterred some of that. Like especially like the intellectual gimmick, because he was a very smart guy, obviously. Like F. Scott Fitzgerald, he was like the jazz age guy, and he's the hard party and drunk. But that only lasted maybe 10 years, and then he just down the toilet and was kind of obscure until The Great Gatsby picked up later on. I think after his death, actually. So anyway, we're going to start getting published here, and I think after we start getting some work published, we need to form some gimmicks, especially when it's novel time.
Should we start wearing eye patches?
Only if you need it. You could probably maybe use an eye patch. Me, I don't have glasses. I don't have a problem with my vision. So
I'm not an eye patch, but I just block out the one lens.
Blindfold.
Yeah.
Blindfold guy. You're blind to injustice. I don't know. I don't know if you've noticed this, but with like the whole like the gender pronouns and everything going on, it's like everybody's forming their own gimmick. That's what it kind of seems to me. Like if you're a they, them, what was the one we saw? The Spanish one was like A, E, or something. Like E-I-E-H or something.
E-I-E-I-O?
E-I-E-I-O. If you're, whatever you know your pronouns are and stuff. I almost starting to feel like, is that just like a wrestling gimmick? You're the they, them. And that's like, because like
for some people, yeah.
But like if you look at it, now I know like not obviously some people that's just how they feel, but like Ezra Miller, okay? He became a they, them. Same with Demi Lovato. Especially her, because it was like she just kept, I think she switched back and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? But like Ezra Miller, he became a they, them. So now whenever articles write about him, like half the comments are like, why is this written so weird? Why do they keep referring to him as they? And then somebody corrects them and it brings all this trash. So it's almost like that just brought you a lot of either heat or that brought you some sympathy. Like it brings a lot of stuff to the article that's not there just because of your pronoun.
I didn't even really think of that when the poor people that have to write these articles and stuff, and because you have to really look into it, because if you write Ezra Miller as he, him, there's gonna be people that are like, oh, you're a fucking bigot. Like, no, or just even me, I'm just even saying as writing, like you're talking about Ezra Miller and they want to be referred to as they. It's just writing it, and you keep on saying they, like that.
It gets really confusing because I read some of the articles that I've seen. Like the last time he got, well, that could be any time. Yeah. He committed a crime.
Yeah. Give it 5 minutes. Yeah, he just did another one.
When they committed a crime. Yeah. See, that's the problem. But you read the headline, like, who's he committing crimes with? And you're like, oh, it's just him. It's just they.
It can be very like grammatically incorrect, which is you know,
because people are like, oh no, they, them could mean singular. Yeah, it can, and it has been used throughout history. But when it's the whole article is one person, and it's they, them. Like I'm just okay. Ezra Miller committed crimes, and they got arrested, and then they got bail, and it's just like, holy shit! How long do we go with this before it sounds to get confusing?
You know who the only people who should be able to really identify
Don't you say schizophrenics?
I was going to say multiple personality people with multiple personality disorder.
That makes you a bigot. Can't say that. Can't say that, Spencer. That's your gimmick. You're gonna be a right-wing bigot.
No, I don't want to be one of those.
But it seems so easy.
Oh, it's the easiest.
There's so many fucking talking heads that were like Democrats their whole life, and then when all this Trump stuff popped out, they just switched to the right, became big fucking douchebags, and then they just get all this money.
Well, it's just such cheap heat.
It is cheap heat, and at some point, it's gonna finally go away, and then they're just gonna be, what are they, penniless and living in the gutter unless they're.
Well, I mean, like, look at what was his name? Who died a while ago because of all the pain? Rush Limbaugh. Like
Rush Limbaugh was a piece of shit his whole life.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, because there for a while, I remember whenever I was young, he was like on like the ESPN like Sunday morning like countdown before the games and stuff, and then he started fucking around saying some weird.
I think Tucker Carlson was the same way. I think he used to have like a normal. He used to be on CNN actually, and was like a normal. Like his gimmick was he wore a bow tie. Good guy with the bow tie. Ooh. And now he's like one of the biggest pieces of shit, fucking instigators for everything. And people believe him as facts, and he just makes up stuff, and he suntans his balls and all this weird shit. And it's just like, why are you listening to this guy?
So it's like,
but it's for money.
Yeah, because like like probably like most of the stuff that when with those people when they're doing that, they don't believe or actually think that shit.
No,
they're just saying that because they know
everyone
that's
at Fox is vaccinated, but they all preach anti-vax stuff. Like, what are you doing? And then people just believe it. And it's like, no, you can read it. It's in their policy. If you work there, you have to be vaccinated for COVID. And they're just all saying, don't get vaccinated. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
What are we doing? I don't get why anyone listens to any. Same with CNN. Like, I'll turn, if I turn that on, I'm just like, why are they slanted so hard? Like, I can't even fucking listen to this. It's not news. Well, is it entertainment? Is that what these are supposed to be now?
I've been listening to the comedian Bill Burr's podcast recently. Been getting caught up on.
It's a good podcast.
Yeah, it is. And he always brings up that he's like, anytime that like CNN or Fox News comes on, he's like, I just fucking turn it off or leave the room because I don't want to hear anything from either one of those because they're each just pandering to the side that they're on. They're not trying to actually give you any actual news to tell you what's happening. It's just whatever it is from their point of views, and they're always right and everything else is wrong.
And it's fucking terrible. I subscribe to, I think it's called The Paper, and it's a news thing that just emails you the topics of the day, like what's going on. It's like, oh, North Korea just launched missiles over Japan, and there's no slant at all. It's literally just a list of the facts, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Must be
that's
nice.
how you get fucking news, just the facts.
But then nobody wants. But nobody wants to do that. It doesn't sell anything.
It's not sensationalized. There's no spin to it. Nothing to make it interesting.
Well, since we're on this news rant, I remember hearing that, like, somebody was like, before people were talking, like, back in the day, the news was bipartisan. There was no, like...
Walter Cronkite's.
The news wasn't there to sell commercial ads and things of that nature and all that stuff.
It wasn't 24 hours either.
No.
How do you feel 24 hours of news if nothing's happening? You make things happen or you pretend things are happening. You know what? Can we end on a diversity rant?
Okay.
No. No, I do have a mini rant here. It's not about diversity. It's about fake outrage caused by the so-called diversity. Because I keep seeing people post about the latest one's The Little Mermaid.
Oh, yeah.
But the Rings of Power is the one that got me because people keep... If you don't like Rings of Power, such as myself, you're automatically an incel, a racist. Well, you don't like it because they have black dwarves and elves.
Well, did you hear the newest thing that... The new romantic comedy Bros, where it's like it's a rom-com, but it's gay guys instead.
No, I saw it, but I didn't know it was gay guys. But
yeah. So
there's a rant against that.
Well, it didn't. It kind of bombed its opening weekend. Now, granted, there was a hurricane going on.
Right, that could do something.
And as the guy, that one main guy who was like a part-time in Pocket Pox and Wreck and stuff like that, he was like one of those smaller characters. Because he kind of, not went on a rant, but I guess he said some stuff on Twitter that was basically saying, like, well, there is large groups of the country that's not going to watch this movie, which is true. But then he also was kind of like, how about all the homophobic, like, races that come out? And so it's like, kind of like, if you don't go see the movie, you're
a
just,
bigot.
You're a bigot, or you're
if you see the movie, you're gay.
Or like if the guy was kind of saying, like, if you don't go see this movie, that you're like you don't like homosexuals, or like, you know what I mean?
Here's my problem, and you just touched on it. What these these production companies have done, like Warner Brothers, Disney, Amazon's a big one with the Rings of Power. They, for one, their whole marketing now and like what the ad agencies are teaching is that you create the outrage first.
Oh, yeah.
To get people outraged to watch the show. So why did everyone go and watch Rings of Power that weren't even interested in Lord of the Rings or anything like that? Because they want to see why everybody's upset that there's black dwarves and they changed the lore and all this stuff. But they, you know, or anytime they have a gay character in the show or they do a race or gender swap on a popular character like a James Bond, these companies, they go ahead of time, like what Rings of Power did, which was so fucking erroneous. They released all the images of all the diverse characters first. And they paid a bunch of, and you can't tell me they didn't, they paid a bunch of major publications to write outrage pieces of how upset everyone is about the race changes. I haven't seen anybody actually complain about the race changes. Even the fucking trolls on Twitter, I have not seen very many of those, like the faceless bots, complain about that. It's always about which is my problem. Dialogue sucks. It's boring. The characters are unlikable. Like, I see all those complaints, but what you get is, so what first happens, because it's the same thing that Disney's doing with The Little Mermaid. They released ahead of, it was like a year ahead of time, the casting, and all of a sudden there was all these outrage. I didn't see the outrage, just the outrage articles about, oh, The Little Mermaid's played by a black actress now. And then they wait till some of the actual races show up, which is great because then they can screenshot and you know, share that as like that represents 90% of the country. Like, so they do that. So then that way they draw interest for the movie that way. And they have all these articles and then it hushes for a minute. And then when the movie starts to release trailers and stuff, they focus on that. And that's the big focus. Like the Rings of Power is all the diverse characters. They didn't focus on the white characters, just the diverse characters. And they showed all the images and stuff. And they want to get people upset about that. And how do they get upset about that? They tell you to be upset about that. Because, again, if you're racist, you're going to be upset about that regardless. But so why do you need all these articles to come out before anything else that says, hey, you need to be upset about this? It's to get the other people defending it. So you get a bunch of people defending, oh, yeah, I read the article, and they posted on Twitter the article. So then you get all these people underneath. Yeah, these fucking racists, all these assholes, they're just mad because. So when the show comes out, a lot of people aren't going to criticize the awfulness of the show because then that would mean, oh, they just don't like the... Right. Because what these shitty fucking production companies do and what all these movie studios and TV studios do, they create the toxic fan base.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't like the product, you're a toxic fan. Never mind that the House of the Dragon does diverse casting and everybody just seems to love that show and it's the same fucking time as Lord of the Rings came out. No, you don't like Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power because you're racist and you're an incel and they call you names and all the actors. They had a whole press run where all the actors and actresses of the show came out saying, pretty much just shitting on the fans who wouldn't like it before it even came out, shitting on the fans who wouldn't like it because of the diversity. And it's like, why is that the focus of your show? Yeah. It's because it's good marketing, because even if it's bad press, it's going to make people watch it. But I don't believe that leads to longevity because, yeah, if there's a major change, if they make Superman black and it's a TV show, people are going to watch the first couple episodes because, well, fuck yeah.
Let's see what that's about.
Whether I'm outraged or not outraged, doesn't matter. Everybody's going to watch it. But then if the show just sucks, the racist people, they're going to just be like, okay, well, fuck this show. And what you see on YouTube is all these fucking anti-woke bros, which I sent you a couple videos.
Yeah.
She-Hulk, anything. They're just going to shit on it every single episode because it brings in money. I bet you they don't even actually feel like that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they don't like the show, but they don't feel that strongly. It's just a gimmick. And whatever, they're getting money. Same as fucking like what the right-wing Republicans do, what the anti-left Trumpers do. They all create all these articles and videos and stuff. And they are focused on their demographic. They don't care about making the other side happy, obviously. But anyway, so you get those guys that come out the woodwork, and then you'll get the people who they're going to defend it because they're virtue signaling. Mm-hmm. So if you
even if they don't feel that way, they want to be on the quote unquote right side.
Maybe they think She-Hulk actually sucks and they don't even watch it. They're going to pretend they like it. They'll watch a recap and be like, yeah, that joke. And, they'll go with the talking pieces and you'll see a lot of retweets and stuff. But it's like, well, like with the Rings of Power, it's like, are you still watching Rings of the Power? The statistics say that, some of the numbers dropped off. Are you actually watching it still? Or are you just saying you watched it? Or are you watching recaps of it? Like, it's hard to say. My bet is if a show or movie is not a good quality, no matter how hard you try to hide it, no matter if you do the Amazon where you delete reviews and block reviews and ban certain reviews, it's going to come out regardless.
Yeah.
And you know how it comes out? Especially if it's a TV show, people just stop watching. If it's a movie, you get 1 week of sales and then it drops off dramatically. No rewatchability, no DVD sales, no streaming sales. I don't know why we're in this space where they think like the whole... Because even like movies that come out that aren't... Like the focus isn't diversity. Like The Note by... what's his name? From Key and Peele. Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele, yeah.
So Note from directed by Jordan Peele. Like that movie, yeah, it's like all black cast and whatnot because he makes movies for black people,
yeah,
with black problems, and I find most of them pretty enjoyable. I think it was Us. I was okay. It wasn't my favorite. I did like the first one he did, but anyway, so like Nope, like people were outraged about that, but they didn't say why. That's when the actual racists come out. When they're just like, no, this movie just sucked. And they'll go on like these weird rants and stuff.
But they don't ever give you a reason why they
no
didn't
good
like it.
reasons. Or like you'll see that with She-Hulk. Like people, that fucking sucks. I was like, what, you don't like the dialogue? I would agree with that maybe. Or you think like the writing's not good?
The animation's not quite up to par.
But if you don't say anything, they don't have specifics. They're not actually watching it. Like a lot of people that were complaining about Nope didn't actually watch it. A lot of people that watched the new Candyman, which I thought was excellent, too woke. They didn't like it because it was too woke. Guess what? Original Candyman was woke. It's about Candyman's a story about a black man who was unjustly murdered and comes back and haunts people pretty much. Like, what are you talking about? I love the new Candyman. I thought it was better than the first Candyman. But a lot of people disliked it because it was too woke because, can't have... Like, it's my favorite, too. It's like Hellraiser. The first two were pretty good. And then after everyone out, they kind of sucked. Now they're doing the new one, and it's a female Hellraiser. And I keep seeing so many neckbeards upset on, it's always on fucking Facebook. Because the new Hellraiser movie is not one of these big studio, it's a Hulu movie. It's not one of these big studio movies where they can pay to have the outrage articles and stuff. It's just like, oh, here's the new Hellraiser movie. There's nothing behind it. So you just actually see when the real racists and misogynists come out because they're, it's a play by a woman. That's not going to be good. And there's like, why not? The Hellbound Heart, he was, Pinhead, who was actually not named Pinhead. He was just, the Hell Priest, Hell Priestess, whatever. I don't think he was called that. Just one of the Cenobites was pretty much like genderless. You didn't know. It was very androgynous. It was like kind of like the original Pinhead sounded kind of like a woman and had like these weird colorful jewels and stuff. So they go on about the Hellraisers. Like, it's going to suck. It's a woman, blah, blah, blah. Why they got a gender swap, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're kind of a fuckface.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't want to like it? Well, you clearly didn't read the source material. And guess what? Clive Barker, the creator of Hellraiser, super gay.
Yeah.
Super gay, man. Do you know that? You probably don't, because if you did, you wouldn't support this weird movie about, like, these fucking sadomasochists whipping each other's balls and shit. Like, did you see what they're wearing? This is like a weird sex thing, right? There's all the gayness. It's like when the Trumpers were doing the YMCA, or what was it, Macho Man maybe? Like the Macho at the rallies when Trump was running. Like they were doing the Macho Man, or whatever the fuck it was. It's like, you bigots do know this is like a gay song by the gayest of people, right?
Yeah, right.
You might as well have Lady Gaga out here fucking doing one of her songs, like, or Elton John or something. Like, this is super gay. And yet you don't know because you're stupid. Like, how do you not know the Village People were super gay? Because like there's a video of a guy going around like telling them that, and they're like, what? And they shows them like, oh, he's so sick all of a sudden. It's like, you guys are so stupid.
Oh man.
So anyway, rant aside, I just don't like the manufactured outrage.
Yeah.
It's not genuine. If it's genuine, because there are movies that have genuine outrage, and it also, what it does is diminish the actual effect you get from the real racist and the real misogynist. So when you do the female Hellraiser Pinhead, when you do a black Superman, or change the characters of the Lord of the Rings and make them, people upset, whenever you do any of these things, if you didn't have the manufactured outrage and had the articles and all the shit beforehand, you'd actually just get like the small fraction of people that are really upset that you could pinpoint them.
Yeah, because it's like, because it's always weird, because it's like, like you just use the example of a black Superman, be like, well, I'm not a racist just because I don't want a black Superman doesn't mean I'm racist. Be like, it kind of does. It kind of does.
It depends on your reason for it. If you think a Superman can't be black because, I don't even know how to defend that one, honestly, because there's no, again, it's not in his origin that he has to be a white guy.
That's like the one thing that I always kind of hear when it comes to the superheroes and stuff and how they've been messing around. It's like, because I was talking to somebody, and because the new Deadpool 3 thing came out with, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, I was working with the guy and I told him, I was like, oh, hey, did you see the trade thing? And he was like, oh, yeah. And it's just like, yeah, see, I always say they would just go, people, if they go to the traditional characters, like, people like it, it's like, God damn it, like, where did that come from? Like,
what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, like, what's that have to do with anything? Why is that the first thing you went to? Like, I didn't even try, because sometimes I like to poke the bear a little bit, just to get them, like, give them little things and just kind of bait them in. But like that time,
wasn't that the guy you said raged out because they had a She-Hulk, a female Hulk, and he just, was it that he just didn't understand that there was a She-Hulk in the comics, or?
No, he didn't like, there's a lot of things he doesn't get. It's like, oh, well, he's also one of these guys. I haven't read any comics in like 10 years because they've all been terrible. But how would I know that they've been terrible because I haven't read any of them? Like one of those tools. But like I said, it's like, but what I was getting at is like, you get those people who just will make like a mountain out of a molehill, and it's like, I didn't even like anything I asked you about that trailer didn't have anything to do with that. You know what I mean? And that's just the first thing you go, because whenever I hear classic characters, I hear white male characters.
And why is that the classic prototype?
Because that's all that there ever was.
But that
for
doesn't
like
mean
60 years.
But it doesn't mean it has to be that at all. It's fucking stupid. We'll end on this because I want to go back to our roots as a writing podcast, Spencer. If the story's good, I don't care about the other stuff.
Yeah, if the
story's good, and we're talking about movies and TV. If it's well acted and well written, the story's good. I don't care if you have Black Batman.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have male Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's done in a way that's like, oh, that's cool, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
if you have transgender Wonder Woman, but you did it in a way that was really fucking.
Oh, that
cool.
was when he was fucking pissed off that there was a transgender transgender man into woman on Themyscira. That pissed him off because there was supposed to never be any men on. But let alone that there's been multiple times with Batman and Justice League and all of them's been there. But whatever, I've said this multiple times. Like you were just saying, like when you do stuff like that, especially with these characters that have been, especially these DC characters, they're closing in on 100 years here in a decade or two. Like, so yes.
New stories, come on.
Yeah, have some, have some black Superman stories. Have some gay Batman stories. Have some, you know what I mean? Because they're not always going to stay. And as long as they're not, because the issues whenever they do anything like that is the pandering factor. Like, you know what I mean? That's where my issues, any comes with that kind of stuff is oh, you're just doing this because this is the hot button issue right now and you think you can sell more issues this way.
You know what I would like? And this is not going to be, you probably wouldn't even agree with this, let alone the majority of people. I would like any character that's over 50 years old to be retired.
Ooh.
No more Batman, no more Spider-Man, no more Superman, no more James Bond. None of them.
Ooh, there's no
retired. Just retired.
Ooh.
Can't make movies, TV show, at least for 20 years.
Just put them in Disney and put them in a vault?
In the vault. No more news stories from those characters. No reimagining of those characters. Nothing. Nothing. Can't be Batman. Can't be Man-Bat. Can't be Batwing Man guy. Can't be nothing. No Nightwing. No nothing.
So you just don't want anything for you don't want any cinema or TV for 20 years.
No more Lord.
Nobody can come up with anything. Nobody can come up with new things.
But they would have to. You keep the gravy train rolling. You actually have to be creative. Holy shit! Just like the '90s when we got Ren and Stimpy and all these weird shit, and everyone was doing weird shit. I want that back. I want a new wave, and why not do it with superheroes? Like if Valiant Comics did it, they made a bunch of fucking original characters. Granted, most of them were kind of rip-offs of other characters, but I mean, everything's going to be derivative of something at this point. But I'm just saying, we don't need any more Lord of the Rings. Let it rest. No more Willy Wonka. Let it rest. What's a book you love? Let it rest. Everything that's over 50 years old, just Let it be. Start anew. We'll do 10 years. How about that? Is that good?
Give it a decade.
Give it a decade where you cut off point 2030. After that, you cannot do any characters that are already established that have been created 50 years ago or more. And that includes anything of Shakespeare. So no more Shakespeare adaptation. You could do plays.
Yeah.
You could do things like that. If you want to have Batman the musical, you could do that. Because fuck it. Let Broadway flourish. But like comics, books, like anything like that, you got especially anyone that's coming like to the point where they're gonna be public domain.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, cause now we're not like the Great Gatsby. Now we're just having fucking random dudes like, I could write a Great Gatsby novel, set in that word. Like, ew, that's gross. You're digging up a corpse and you're fucking it. I don't like it. You Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, motherfucker. I do not like it. It's gross. Leave it dead.
So like whenever people make their own like Frankenstein book.
Yeah, ew. Leave it alone. Leave that corpse alone, Bundy. Leave it alone. It ain't hurt nothing in the ground. Just leave it there. We don't need your reimagining. We don't need, which I actually saw on Twitter, gay, lesbian, well, I guess gay and lesbian are synonymous, lesbian Frankenstein. One, you bother me because is it Frankenstein the doctor that's lesbian?
Or the monster.
Because that could be interesting.
Yeah.
But no, it's the monster. Because the picture on the cover was a very gay-looking, butch, lesbian Frankenstein monster. So if it was Lesbian Frankenstein's Monsters, one, should be the title. But two, I was just like, it wasn't Lesbian Frankenstein, by the way, it was the title. That'd be a good title.
Yeah.
It was like something really stupid. Like, under the moonlight digs the grave. Something dumb. But I'm just saying, like, I've been seeing a lot of that, like a lot of gay Draculas, a lot of LGBTQ Wolfmans, and all the universal monsters. And I'm just like, no, let it be dead. We don't need to reimagine. Create your own character. So that's what we're going to end on, folks. Create your own fucking character.
Be original.
Be original. Create your own unique works, your own worlds. Do not base your stuff on stuff that already exists. No more fan fiction. No more fucking fan fiction, you motherfuckers. Caleb's not a fan of fan fiction. And I can't even say why, because I probably have never read good fan fiction, which might have something to do with it. But I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure I've read stuff that's actually fan fiction, like Beowulf or something. Not Beowulf. Dante's Inferno. I haven't read that yet, but that's supposed to be actual Dante's fan fiction of like him hanging out with Virgil or something. We're digressing too far. Folks, if you enjoyed this, subscribe to the DPW OnlyFans. We don't have an OnlyFans. We should.
Yeah, if we're not going to have a website or anything anymore, we should have an OnlyFans.
Yeah. You can follow us on Twitter at DrunkpenWriting. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at DrunkenPenWriting. Wow, they last. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. I will be creating a website eventually, which you can follow me on. But for now, I don't want to give you my personal dates because you guys are creeping and give me hate mail. Spencer, OnlyFans. What are you today? Spencer, the Algerian alligator accoster church? Is that it?
Yes.
That's going to be... How do you clear that with, like... Not even PETA, because fuck those guys, but just, like, any animal rights... Like, how does that work? Do you have to get, like, paperwork that says you can...
I just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
Steve Irwin, thumb up the butt?
Yeah, just, it's better to do ask forgiveness than permission or whatever. However that saying goes.
I don't think that's good. I don't think that's right. But anyway, folks, thank you for listening. We'll check you out next week, probably.